If you guys didn't know, this is our 1999 Toyota Landcruiser Troop Carrier that we purchased from some dodgy car dealer in the back streets of Sydney around a month ago.
We're offering top dollar for this, $120,000. That's what they're worth, isn't it?
And you guys thought I had rocks in my head. But since then, I've been ripping it apart and putting it back together just slightly better than it was before. And this week, it's really starting to come together. We're going to be installing an off-grid power system to rival most high-end caravans. Tackling the hardest and by far the most time-consuming job on this car so far. Wow. And a heap of other goodies are going to go in as well. Okay, so now's the time where you need to say, you're watching Lil and Jake. You're watching Lil and Jake. Perfect. Hello. Welcome back. Why am I wearing my earphones like this? That's a bit better, huh? It's flipping cold today. All right, so today, you might be guessing what's happening right now. As you can see that is the battery for the Troopy. And I'm so excited about it. It's been a long time waiting for this thing because these come from Perth and we're in Tasmania, and I feel like it'd probably be faster to ship this thing to China than it is to get it here. But anyway, this is the battery that I've chosen for the Troopy. Oh, it is, I think this is brand new, to be honest. I don't even know if you can get these yet. I reckon they've only been out on Itech for like the last couple of weeks. Anyway, this is a 300 amp hour lithium battery. You guys might think that's crazy overkill. And you know what, probably is. But no one ever complained about having too much battery power, did they? And I feel like how small this is pretty much why, ooh, easy. Now the reason I chose this was pretty much just how small this battery is. Like this is not much bigger than your average, if you're gonna get like 120 amp hour AGM. It would not be much smaller than this. This thing is like tiny for the capacity that it has. For example, a normal 100 amp hour AGM battery usually weighs in at about like 25 kilos, for example. So imagine holding 3 of those batteries, that would be 75 kilos. Like there's no way you'd be able to pick that up. Whereas this thing is just, I mean, I'll have to weigh it. Be interesting to see what it is. I'll put it up on the screen right over here, how much it weighs. But it's light for what it is. So the reason that we've got such a big battery is because we're gonna be running induction cooking. So there'll be one induction cooktop inbuilt into the bench top up there. Drop down table on this bad boy. So might have one here just for outside cooking because don't always want to cook inside. We also have an air fryer oven that we bought. We used to run it in our old caravan. And so that's gonna be sitting in here. So pretty much I've actually designed like all these cabinets around it being in here. I'm probably gonna have to put some like cement sheet or something along here just for fire risk or whatever. But it's basically like looks like a microwave, but it's an oven air fryer. Now, how are you gonna run all that? With this big Itechworld thing, 3000 watt inverter. Again, is it overkill? Maybe. So when I was looking at the battery sizes and inverter sizes and weights and things like that and how much space I had, to be honest, I was going to put a 240 amp battery in here and the 2000 watt inverter was my first choice. But after looking online at all the dimensions and specifications, weights and all that kind of stuff, there was not much cost difference, size difference, weight difference in going to the bigger stuff. And then I'm just sort of future-proofing, you know what I mean? I know I'm never really gonna do this, but imagine you're cooking on the induction and then you wanna put something in the air fryer. You're warming up something in there. Like, I know it sounds crazy that I wanna do something both at the same time. And I probably won't, but it gives me that opportunity to do that. And I know there is some sort of like, what do you call it, cons to running a bigger inverter, and that when they're on they do draw like a little bit more power. But if you're running a more high quality inverter, they definitely don't use as much power on standby as what like a cheaper one does. Also, this cabin interior is so small that it's so easy to be able to turn this inverter on and off. So I'll have a switch up here, turn the inverter on, do everything where the cooktops or whatever are, turn it off. Lil can then as well bring her air wrap, because she really wants that. Who's that? Hello. Frankie, come here. Who was that? I just don't want any power anxiety. Now charging this bad boy, I have a DC-DC 40, and up on the roof, we're gonna have two 150 solar panels, two 150 watt solar panels. Now, I just have a small little MPPT controller, which is another Itech one that I'm gonna be putting in to run the solar panels. So I'm not gonna run them through our DC-DC. Hope that makes sense to you. All right, it's time to start getting into fitting all this 12-volt gear. I've already been running cables around the car in preparation for this, but there's still an absolute mass of them left to go in. And unfortunately, as this whole interior setup is custom, it's a real make the decision on the fly type job. Would you look at that? Hot pies, get your hot pies. I had a small idea in my head where I wanted everything to go, but in the end, I just had to fit stuff where I could. And after a full day's work, I felt like I had made some sort of ground with the project. Hey guys, morning. I had a late night last night working on this car. Yesterday, I just kept going, just put the cameras down a little bit and just went hard. And as you can see by the state of this garage, I've not picked up anything. You know, when you just sort of get on a roll and you just keep going, keep going, keep going. It was sort of like that. Like I reckon I worked from probably 8 or 9 in the morning till about 10:30, 11 last night. But we are really starting to get somewhere in this. Now, let me just turn some lights on in here. Here is pretty much where we got to. This is our little battery spot setup. What do you call this? Let's call this the computer room. What do you think? I'll run you through sort of what we've got going on here at the moment, and also what we need to do as well. We have our inverter wired in. We have one of our power points in there, and then there is to be one up here on the face, but that's yet to come. Now, you might be wondering what this thing is up here. Now, that's an amp for a sub, and I'll get to that in a second. But having it cut out here was a really good idea, because that meant that I could sort of put my hand through and then get cables in. So all the cables are in this back wall that like runs along the back of the car, like, and because cables come out through there and all through there, and they're going like up and then into here, which because I'll eventually go around here. But because this is my main hub, and I have my fuse like block here and all that kind of stuff, it's a really good spot for me to be able to, I don't know if you can see how that amp there is actually cut in and it sticks through. So I can just unscrew this amp, and then it's sort of access panel to the back, and then all the cables and everything are in there. It's not saying that I should, like, you know, need to get to a lot, but it's something that I can get to if needed. So I have my fuse set up here. I've got a few things on there, as you can see, the water pump, rock lights, air compressor. Now that's the diesel heater. I haven't figured out what little thing I'm going to put there yet, but there'll be another couple of things in there. Like I'll have fridge there, and then I'll probably have like 12-volt outlets, for example, like all the USB ports and stuff that are going to be around will be run on that. Now I have my solar controller here. We haven't put the solar panels yet on the car, so there's no point in wiring that, but the cables and stuff are all in behind here, like all ready to go. But that'll be an easy bit. They'll just go through there. But like I said, to get to them, I'll just unscrew that and pull it out. Now you can see my big inverter cables and stuff going around here. These are pretty messy, but I'll try and figure something out. But if you've ever worked with these big inverter cables, they're so rigid and hard, and like to make them look neat is always really hard. But we do have our inverter fuse. Well, there's no fuse in it yet, but that's going to be there. And then I have that is, what do you call that thing? But that basically is like the battery monitor. It's a shunt. It's a shunt. Shunt is a fun word. And then finally we have our DC-DC charger. I know you'd be like, why are you mounting it there? Like, why not mount it on the wall? Now, this is where the fun starts. So, let me explain something to you. So where I'm standing here is where the fridge is gonna go. Well, I'm crouching, whatever you want to call it. This right here, fridge. So it's about the same width as this electrical box sort of thing. It's about this high, and it comes along here to the very end. So this will be its spot. Now, I am leaving this open, all for airflow and stuff, which we'll get to that in a sec. But can you imagine? You're thinking, wow, this is so accessible and it's fantastic to be able to get to those fuses. Which, yes, it will be. But that works in theory. But can you imagine when there's a 95 litre fridge there full of food and your fuse blows? It's not going to be good. Because it's going to have to be lifted out and come back here. So more than likely the fridge is probably going to weigh 20 kilos, and then when it's full of food it could weigh, 60, 70. So what you would have to do is pull all the food out and then pick the fridge up and then pull it out and then climb yourself down in there and get to that. Now that sounds like a lot of work. So what I was thinking was that right here behind the driver's seat, I would cut a little door in here. And then if I want to, I'd be able to just pull the driver's seat forward like this and then get in through this door. Now, this is the reason that there's an amp there. So I was thinking, how am I going to make a door look nice there and functional? And, as with a lot of things in here, it's good to do some space saving and multi-purpose things. Now, what if I do this? Would this work better? So hear me out. I know it sounds silly and it's a subwoofer, sick, yeah. But basically what this is like, I'm going to use this as my door, but a functioning door. So I'm going to cut a hole out there and then my sub's going to go in there and it will just be doofing along, doing its doof thing. And then I'll be like, oh shit, a fuse is blown. Now, instead of me lifting that fridge out and getting it out of the way and taking ages, I will just undo the screws out of this. I'm going to put a long cable on it and I'll just pick it up and go and put it over here on the seat, for example. And then I'll have a big circle cut out here. And from the circle, I'll be able to see in here. So that will be there, which will give me, I'll be able to reach around, get my hand into the fuses and see if any of them are blown or anything. So I'll be able to access that perfectly, which is pretty much all that needs to be accessed in there, realistically, is the fuses. If there's anything else going wrong, then probably not going to be doing that. But yeah, I'll be able to, have a look at the solar controller and see if that's going, and have a look if the charger's going. But the thing is, I shouldn't ever really need to look at those, because that's the reason that shunt's in there, because we have a battery monitor that's going to be down there. So I won't really need to know that. I'll be, if I start the car and it doesn't say that it's charging, then I know something's wrong and then I can look. Or if there's sun out and again it's not charging, then I know that there's something wrong with the solar controller. So these aren't something that I really need to look at, they can just be hidden away. And I'm not cutting a huge door in there either, because I'm not really going to be needing to pull anything out of there. Like, this isn't going to come out. If I've got to replace the battery, then so be it. I'll pull the fridge out. It's not that bad. But yeah, and we have an inverter remote as well. So as you can see, this little cord here, that's the inverter remote. So I'll be able to turn the inverter on and off remotely. Yeah, I shouldn't really need to get into here. Now, one last part before I stop waffling for the morning. But now the other concern I have is when the fridge is here, I'm hoping, don't worry about this bit, it's the diesel heater. I'm almost certain, if my plans are correct, that the fridge, the vents will face this way and blow out this way. Like the fans, where the refrigeration unit should just sit there and blow out that way. Now, with all this stuff in here, especially on a really hot day, it could create a bit of heat in here. So my plan is, once I get the fridge and I sort all this out, I'm more than likely going to put a fan in here. So probably around this section here, because there'll be a wall here that goes along, I'm going to put a fan in there, which should hopefully sort of blow air into here and, you know, give us a bit of airflow, because that's going to get hot. That's going to get hot. That solar controller is going to get hot. That amp's going to get hot. And the fridge will get hot. So having airflow in there, one, it's going to dissipate the heat. But the thing is, with electronics like that, like sometimes, for example, like products like, even like DC-DC chargers, for example, when they get hot, instead of, like, they don't have fans or anything in them, what they do is then they will just reduce the power that they're generating to bring their temperature back down. Now, if you can put a fan on it, then it means that you can stay producing more power for a longer period of time, which ends up counteracting the draw of the fan, because yes, the fan is using power, but you're meaning that you can bring in more power for a longer period of time, and it counteracts that loss, if that makes sense. But yeah, we will be putting a fan on that, but I'll get everything in. That's one of the last things that I want to do, just so that I can figure out where everything's going to go. But it's going to be a hot box in there. I can tell you that right now. Oh, and one thing I forgot. You may notice that it looks super messy here with these, like the Anderson plugs that come on the back with on the back of this DC-DC charger. Now, I could have hidden these inside the wall, yeah, or done something else with them. The main reason I've got this one floating around here, so this one is solar, and these DC-DC chargers have solar compatibility. Now, this is also my solar controller. Now, what I try and build into all of my builds is like a backup sort of system. So, for example, if this was to die, then I would still be able to charge my batteries, because if I had just had the solar on this and then for some reason the DC-DC charger broke, then I wouldn't be able to charge my batteries with either the alternator or the solar. So that's why I like having something like that. So that's in use, but for example, like I said, this breaks, my batteries still have a way to charge on solar. Now, as well, if this breaks and my solar doesn't work, then it will be easy for me to wire from here to here and then continue to use my solar panels. So it doesn't mean that they're default. Now, yes, you can just replace these, but when you're out on a trip and you're ages from anywhere, sometimes it's not easy to come and find a new DC-DC charger or a new solar controller. Also guys, what I forgot to add in here is that if you leave the Anderson plugs on the DC-DC chargers, that means that if they were to break, then they're easy to replace and you can just unplug everything and put a new one back in. But speaking of them breaking, this is the fourth setup that I've had from Itechworld in vehicles that I've owned previously, and I've never had a problem with any of my bits, like any of the DC-DCs, any of the batteries, the solar, anything like that. So originally the first time that we had iTech was in our hybrid caravan, that blue tongue, like the 13-foot one. And then I put a setup in our Ranger in the canopy. And then now I still have an Itechworld setup in the Prado again. And now this is the fourth setup in the Troopy. And they've all had the exact same Itechworld 40 amp DC-DC charger. And I've never had a problem with all of them. Like, I've used them. I've lived from these products for the last 2.5 years. Like, they have kept the food that I eat every day cold. Well, I mean, until I'm back in the house now. But I will continue to put my faith in them for the foreseeable future because they've never let me down. And that's why we sort of partner with Itechworld, and we have for like the last 2 years. And if you guys use our discount code, which is Lil Jake 5, and that gives you 5% off everything in the store, that sort of shows to Itech that we're doing a good job. You guys enjoy the product. We enjoy the product. And that's helps our channel out, and it helps support like everything. It means you guys get to see us do all this kind of stuff in these videos. You guys using those discount codes, like that really helps us out. It's a major help with our channel. So thanks guys. But like I said, I wouldn't promote these products if I didn't think they were good. I think that Itechworld is amazing quality product for the price. Okay, the time has come to move on to a project that I have been sort of dreading for a long time. So about 3 weeks ago, I installed a diesel heater in the Troopy, and it's been wicked. But I really wanted to use the fuel from the Troopy. Like that was my main goal, you know what I mean? But when the diesel heater turned up, I had accidentally filled the sub tank up with fuel, and there's no way that I was going to be able to get the fuel tank out of the car when it was full of 90 litres of fuel. Like that'd be way too heavy. So the last 3 weeks I've been trying to get through 90 litres of fuel basically, so that the tank is light enough to get out. And I've also been putting it off for so long because I really don't want to pull the fuel tank out of this, but I have to. So what I've been doing recently is, I don't know if you can see that there, but I've just got like a normal diesel tank just strapped in behind here, and I have been using the diesel heater in the Troopy, and it's so good. When we went camping the other weekend, when we went rafting down the southwest, it was so good. Like it was freezing down there, but it was so nice in the Troopy. So anyway, I got this little doohickey off my dad. So basically what I've got to do is pull the tank out of the Troopy, drill a hole in it, put this pickup in it, hook my little diesel hose up, and we'll have a diesel supply that's 90 litres. So it's time to pull the sub tank out of the Troopy. And if you didn't know, these cars come factory with 2 90 litre diesel tanks, which to be honest is a crazy amount of fuel for a car to come standard with. So the rear tank here is held up with 2 straps, and 2 bolts will let it come out. And up until now, I have not found a bolt that I can't undo in this car. Very fishy. I'll soak it in the witch's piss, and then see how we go. But now I have. So firstly, the bolts that hold in the tank were spinning.
Oh, we're turning something.
And I couldn't get to the top of them as there was a whole pile of dirt caked on the mounting position.
This is the bolt in question that we're looking at. Well, that one. And that one. I think the chassis rail might be full of mud.
So, a quick wash.
Ooh, so much dirt coming out of it.
And a vacuum of the rocks. I was able to undo one of the bolts, but the other was just impossible with the tooling I had. So I tried as much as I could to grind it and drill it out, but I decided I'm wasting my time and cut the strap, knowing I can just weld it back together again tomorrow.
Oh, this tank is heavy. Oh God. Oh, jeepers. Hang on, what's holding it? Oh, that was so dumb. I just left that fuel pump wire there. That's so dumb. Petition to get Jake a hoist. Vote 1. How am I gonna get this back up in here? I'm gonna have to empty this out, aren't I? Alrighty, it's time to put this thing in there. I feel weird drilling into a fuel tank. It's so cold in this garage. But do you know what's not cold? My head.
Do you guys know that you can get these beanies, the bogged beanies, from lilandjake.com, and you can also get hats. We have sick hats, bogged hats, not bogged hats, and we also have patches too. And there's women's hats as well. Well, I mean, you can wear whatever you want to wear anyway. I wouldn't say, you know, they don't have to be women's hats, but they're pink, so. I mean, I wear pink, but forget I said anything. Oh, well, actually, no, don't forget that I said that you can get these hats at lilandjake.com. They're so good as well. What I wanted, I saved the end bit. Oh, it's full of swarf. Nah, it's not. I can't see anything in there. Don't drop him. Don't drop him. Look at that. Now, I'll show you this. Look at that. You can see that thing in there. Just getting its juice. It's just touching right now. That's a fuel tank in there, isn't it? Alright, time to weld. The next morning, I headed out to weld back up my tank straps and don the old welding helmet, which I'm pretty sure doesn't work properly. That's why I'm wearing sunglasses underneath. I then proceeded to hot glue 2 bits of metal together. Now, I don't have a massive amount of control on this old welder, so we're just doing little tacks to avoid melting a hole in the strap. I'm just looking at myself in the camera now with these with these sunglasses on. But please, if you're trying this at home, wear appropriate safety gear. Wow. Time to put this tank back in. I also painted up under here with like a, what do you call it? A paint? No, like a black paint. Just because I won't be able to get to it. I sort of do plan on painting a fair bit underneath this car. Because it looks like it's so annoying. So it looks like it's rusty. You're like, what the helly? It's so rusty, but it's literally just red dirt. And you even get bits, and you look at them, you're like, look at this piece of metal, it's so rusty, and then you realize it's rubber. And it's, rubber's not rusty. It's just red. And now, time to chuck this tank back in. I really should have emptied this, but to be honest, this whole deal has taken me so long already, I really just couldn't be bothered anymore. But I instantly regretted that as soon as it came to moving this thing around. But in the end, we got it done, and that's just another job ticked off the list. Alright, I'm pretty certain I've done it. That was so hard. It's taken me almost a day to pull the tank out of this and put it back in. It feels like most days I get a delivery. I'd even say me and the postman are almost friends now. Yo, look what just turned up. Can you guys see yourself? Mirror! So, I got these mirrors off Amazon for about 30 bucks. I wasn't expecting anything great. I'm just trying to make this car look and feel a bit newer. But after taking the old ones off, I think we have a problem. There's a bit of a mark on the door here. I don't mind putting bolts back in the holes. That's chill. It's more the... Do you know what I need to do? Sticker down the whole length. What do you guys think? You guys knew it was always going to get a sticker, didn't you? But what do you think? Orange or blue? I really like blue, personally, but there's going to be a lot of orange on it, especially with the iTech stuff. Max tracks are grey, so that doesn't matter. So we could go blue. Blue would be cool. Either of those two, is orange or blue. Let me know in the comments. All right, first mirror's on. That's a mirror. What do you reckon? I know there's holes here, which sort of sucks, but we'll figure that out. What do you think? Does that look a lot better than that? To be honest, that sort of looks cool, but I think this just looks a lot smoother and, you know, sort of looks a bit Japanese, I feel. I mean, I can always go back to the other ones. They're just there. I like these. A lot of you guys are probably wondering where the hell Lil is, and don't worry, she's still here. Lil's just been super busy doing all the background stuff recently. So unfortunately, you guys have just been having me recently in all these videos. But don't worry, Lil's still here. She's just doing a lot of background work. She'll be in and out of the videos in the next few weeks. But she's doing all the behind the scenes work to make these videos come out to you guys, and getting back to all your messages, and just doing all the organizing that it takes to try and build a car in like a month and a half. But yeah, I just want to say thanks to her for doing all the amazing work that she's doing behind the scenes. But anyway guys, I think that's enough for the video. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't, because that really helps us out. Give this video a like and share it with your friends. And I'll see you guys next week. Peace.